Good night, viewers, and welcome to this another program of breaking down the issues. This program comes to you every Thursday night from 18:30 hours to 20 hours. The official host of this program is the Honorable Shurwayne Holder, Member of Parliament and Shadow Minister of Natural Resources, and he also holds the portfolio as chairman of the People's National Congress Reform. My name is Dennis Jai Kran, and I would be co-hosting this program with the Honorable Shurwayne Holder. Tonight, we are going to focus on the topic APNU providing a livable income for all Guyanese. And so the topic again is APNU providing a livable income for all Guyanese. Viewers, before I bring in the host of this program wishes to convey to all our viewers the many ways and the many forms you have contributed in terms of sending information to this program so that we can fashion our topics. And as co-host of this program, allowing the co-host to be able to fashion questions that will be so put to the host of this program, the Honorable Shurwayne Holder, Member of Parliament. Viewers, I want to take this opportunity at this time to welcome to this program, his program, so to speak, and breaking down the issues, the host, Honorable Shurwayne Holder, Member of Parliament, Shadow Minister of Natural Resources, and Chairman of the People's National Congress Reform. MP, welcome.
Yes, thanks for joining me. Good night. Good night to you. Good night to your viewers. Thanks for joining me again on another edition of Breaking Down the Issues. I heard you address me as minister. I
Maybe,
hope your
maybe,
tongue.
maybe,
I,
yeah.
I hope it's
You know,
what's to
Mr.
come.
Mr. Yeah, Mr. Slow would always say from his crystal ball. Maybe I would have borrowed his crystal ball for tonight.
Yes, so thanks for having me. Thanks for joining me. Rather, I want to encourage those persons on the live to just take a second to share the live, share it far and wide. This is a program in which we dig down into the burning issues in the society, and we try to explain it as far as we can so that, all can understand what is it that all can understand the key points in relation to the issue. You want a common man in the street to understand what is it that you're saying, and that is why I chose the name of this program, breaking down the issues, because a lot of times issues are being discussed in the public domain, and the common man in the street is not able to understand it fully, maybe partially, but not fully. And also with the advent of fake news, these fake media, we know that the PPP has a lot of them. You have one called Guyana Express that came on board lately, and I tracked that one down. I did my own research, own investigation, and I recognized that the likely people associated with that fake media are those that are um, responsible for Sheriff and Guyana Daily News. Because when I track it down using various apps, I recognize the number associated with it was a number associated with Sheriff through a post about 3 years ago. And advertising Sheriff business, I think, is a meat center or something like that. And through some other means, I recognize that that is also another one coming out of the Sheriff, and we know where Sheriff is. Basically, the mouthpiece of the PPP, the face of PPP propaganda. I think they're now beating Guyana Live. That's another one that some say it's Kwame McCoy. I don't know, but some persons blame Kwame McCoy for it. Um, and then you got Sheriff Media coming out. And then you got other media houses which are generally aligned with the PPP, and many times, other than bringing the actual news, they will put a twist or to bring wholly false information, as we would have seen in the case of Newsroom. Just, I think, this morning or yesterday, claiming that a senior person in the a former leader of the opposition rather would have endorsed the PPP, and they had that all around. And I saw Mr. Harmon responding to it. Share the live, folks, so that we can have a big audience as possible as we drill down into tonight's topic. As Comrade Jaikaran has said, the APNU um, coalition providing a livable wage or a livable income for all Guyanese. That's the topic. That's the main topic tonight. We might branch into some other areas, but that is the core topic we want to discuss tonight, because it is important while we expose the PPP government. It is important also to put our policies and put our plans out there so that persons can understand, so that the nation can understand what is it that we're offering. There are lots of persons who would like to contest these elections, but we haven't heard anything really of substance from them. And so that is why I chose tonight to bring one of our policy areas to discuss it here, so that all Guyanese can have first-hand knowledge of where we will take the country in just another 3 months after we would have won the upcoming elections. And so it is something that persons can look at, pay attention to. It's something that is significant in the lives of all Guyanese at this point, I would think. So just go ahead and share the live. And Comrade Dennis, you raised another thought. You caused me to uh, look at this program in a little different way. I believe persons, we can from time to time take a question or two from the comment section. So if there are important questions that we notice or an important topic raised, maybe to the back end of the program, we can try to answer it or to explain it as far as uh, we can. All right, back to you. So I think we're set to begin. Good night to all the viewers. Again, I see a lot of persons tuning in. My friend, poor people governor, he's always prompt for classes, as Paul Slow says. You know, he's always there. A good night to you, my friend. Way up in Canada. You know, the feedback from this from the public with respect to this program has been very good. I always get people making contact with me saying, you know, you guys are doing a fantastic job in terms of discussing these issues and breaking it down. So we want to ensure that every Thursday we're here And you're also here as well. We're trying to make a sacrifice. All of us are busy. I just actually came out of the campaign office in the region, myself and Comrade Jaikaran, and we said, although we were busy, we have to come on this program and keep it going. Over to you, Comrade Jaikaran. I think the people are set and we're ready to go.
Yes. Thank you, MP. Before I ask you or before I put to you the first question for tonight, I heard you said early on there is something called Guyana Lies is a social media outlet.
Guyana Daily Lies. Some people dub it Guyana Daily Lies.
Okay. So we are clarifying Guyana Daily Lies. So let us
Daily
move.
Lies.
A
Yeah.
very important topic as we
Yes.
set to discuss tonight. So MP, let us look at the concept of a livable wage. And so, what is it? What are your thoughts as it relates to a livable wage?
All right. That's an important question. As we moved into opposition, our first few years in opposition, we're now at year number five. We are completing year number five. As we moved into our first 2 years or so, we recognize that inflation has been taking a heavy toll on Guyanese. Food prices rose, in some cases up to 50%, 70%. And we started to highlight that at the parliamentary level. And we recognized that the government paid no attention to it. They tried to cover it every year. They come to say, "Oh, you hadn't significant inflation. You only had 1 year was 6.5%, and another year was 4%, and those were the levels." But we recognize that inflation has gripped this nation, and it has caused serious strain on all Guyanese of all walks of life in every region. We recognize that there exists economic hardships, and so it is out of that I recall when Aubrey Norton became leader of the opposition, we had much discussion at the central level pertaining to this issue, at the MPs level, at the party level. We had lots of discussion over it. And Aubrey put forward his people centered development strategy, in which he started to look at solutions uh, as it relates to issues in our society, and especially as it relates to the poorer class of people, the common man in the street. And that is what that people centered development strategy is based on. And in that strategy, one of the pillars, the key points in it is the issue of a livable wage. We looked at it, we looked at our own track record. We would have done a lot for example, for the public servants. We gave them increases that they would have never seen before in the history of this country. You would recall that years back, you used to get a 3% from the PPP, a 5%. And we came to power, and we charted a new course, a new bold course. We stepped out. I recall in 2015, we gave 10%, and our budget was only 232 billion. In 2016, we were able to give our public servants 10% increase for that year. We also managed the economy properly. Inflation was at an all-time low. I think you had like 1.5%. 0 point something percent. You can check the record. You can go back. The records are there. Those were our figures basically for inflation. And so we managed the economy better. And at the same time, we ensured that we gave increases to our public servants, significant increases, not only increase, but significant increase. And well, one would say, well, it's only the public servants. But look, the fact that we manage the inflation allowed the persons in the private sector their salary to have more weight. If you have inflation, then the cost of goods and services go up, and um, suddenly a salary it is difficult to um, make ends meet with the current salary that you would be getting. And so that is one way of looking at it. And another thing is that when you give, or when we gave rather, those increases to the public servants, you had tens of thousands of persons with a higher spending power, a bigger spending power. And so those persons would into go out there, and they would buy more groceries, more fish and meat, furniture, whatever they had to get to live their daily lives, whether it's clothing, to satisfy their needs generally. And so that boosted the economy. And it means that even those persons in the private sector, you had that spin off where they too are benefiting or were benefiting from higher wages. Because if your sale go up, then you would have a greater level of earnings, greater level of profit coming in. And so that is how we run the country at that stage. And so it is while we reflected on those issues. Oh, I should mention our pensioners as well. We moved them from around $11,000, $12,000, and we almost doubled it. We carried up to, I think it's $20,500, and that was significant at that time. If you ask persons now um, the value of $20,000, they would laugh at you, because over the last 5 years, inflation would have taken us over, and these guys have been lying about it. Um, they've been trying to suppress the numbers. At one stage they said, food inflation is only at the average food inflation is only at 14%. uh, and they have all these tricky ways of measuring it. But the reality is that major or main food items like rice, for example, those would have doubled in the last 5 years. If you check where we were and where the price for rice is now, I think it was about $1,300 a small sack, that 3 gallon small sack, and now it is about up to about $3,000, 2,500 to $3,000. Sugar has increased, flour has increased significantly, milk has increased significantly, and so greens. Now, these days, Comrade Dennis, if you go to the market, and I'm talking about the common man, you have to walk with no less than $10,000, $15,000 if you intend to buy greens for the week, along with meat and maybe a few other things. You have to walk with about $10,000, $15,000 currently in Guyana. And so it is these issues that we reflect upon, and the leader in his wisdom. And that is why I like Aubrey North. He's a thinker. He has tons of ideas. He sits up. He gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 3. I know he's up because sometimes we message each other, or if he has a question, he sends it to me early at that time. He's up and he does his research. Whatever he puts together, his programs and his policy positions, so that we can discuss it. And so he came with his people-centered development strategy, as I mentioned, and a key pillar of it is a livable wage for all Guyanese. And as a party, we would have embraced it. What does that mean? A livable wage would vary. Of course, as the name implies, it's a wage that you should be able to live on, to take care of your needs. But it will vary from person to person. Everybody's situation is different. It will vary based on the region, also the geographic location that you're in, because the price, for example, for, let's say, rice, the price for rice in Georgetown or in region 2, let's use region 2 as a rice producing region, will be way different, significantly lower than the cost for it in, let's say, in Kako, in somewhere region 7 in the interior, or maybe far on in region 1. The price is different because you now have to pay transportation and other fees to get those products there. And so cost of living, not cost of living, sorry, the livable wage or livable income will vary from person to person. But the overall idea is that every Guyanese, every Guyanese must be able to earn a livable wage. We are less than 1 million persons in this country, and we are earning, um, I think it's 1.5 billion dollars. I have to check the figures, either per hour or I believe it is every hour from the oil industry. I will double check it. But we're earning that much from the oil industry, and we're bound to earn so much more in the years to come. Some agencies are forecasting that we will earn as much as $2 trillion in a couple of years' time. That is double our current national budget. That is double our current national budget. Just let that sink in. So we have the capacity, we have the means as a country to ensure that every citizen, every person living in Guyana can earn and should be able to earn a livable wage. Now, we in the APNU, as soon as we get government, we are we are going to, and in fact, this process is already has already begun. We've already began looking at what a livable wage would mean, for example, in Region 4 for persons in specific regions. And so we have to gauge that against our policy and what and all that we will put out there to ensure that we accomplish just that, giving everybody a livable wage. Currently, what persons are getting, most Guyanese, or at least half the population, is working for under $200,000 per month. A significant section of the population is working for just around 120,000 dollars. I could tell you that even for a single parent, a single mother, or a single father, that $100,000 is nothing. You cannot. It is certainly not a livable wage, even for a single parent, a mother and a child or two children. It can't work, especially if you have, for example, rent to pay. You have your groceries bill, and the rent eats first, because if you don't pay your rent, then you will have nowhere to live. And so you have to take out significant portions from that 100,000. If you're living in Georgetown, it's worse. That is why I'm doing this. I'm comparing, because every region depends on your geographic location, depends on the situation, the family situation. A livable wage could mean different things. How many kids you have, and all of that you have to consider. Now, rent in Georgetown for a two-bedroom place, I'm not certain what it is now, but I would imagine that for a decent two-bedroom apartment, it can't be less than $50,000. I don't think you would get any decent two-bedroom apartment for less than $50,000. So imagine you're working for $100,000 and the rent alone carries $50,000 from you. You're just stuck with $50,000 remaining. Groceries for a woman with two kids, easily that would be about $40,000. And I'm talking about the bare minimum here, nothing significant. You're not buying anything special. You're not buying ice cream and yogurt and these types of things. You're just buying rice, flour, salt, sugar, these things, milk, and they will add up to about $40,000. So where do you go? The money is finished. The money is finished right there. So we must be able to craft policies and programs that will allow in the shortest possible time our population to be able to earn a standard of income that can match their needs. And I think that will match their needs in terms of well, I should say their basic needs. And I think that is the definition of what we would call a livable wage. So to that single mother, it might be $150,000 to $200,000. We will have to establish a benchmark. We'll have to establish a benchmark. We believe that it will be somewhere to $250,000 based on what our economists are saying to us. And so, in our policy, however we craft our policy as the new government, we will ensure that persons can earn that much so that they can live comfortable lives. Guyanese deserve nothing less.
Thank you very much, MP. Having established what we mean by a livable wage, I recognize that during that explanation, you made mention of policies and programs. Take us there to that position in which you can identify for the viewers the areas of focus that would so allow for Guyanese to benefit from a livable wage.
Thanks for that question. We have a um, broad policy to cover it. We have lots of programs we want to introduce as the new government, which we're really excited to be the next government to be able to have Guyanese benefit in a significant way. One of the things we intend to implement almost immediately, and that would be in our next budget. We'll have to wait on the budget to get it done, and the budget could come at the end of the year or it could come very early in January. But one of the things we intend to do, we're committed to doing immediately, is to give a 35% increase to all of our public servants. Every single one of them, our teachers, our doctors, our nurses, our midwives, our community health workers, our security guards. We are looking to give every single one of them a 35% increase. And this is significant. This would be unprecedented. It would be unprecedented, Comrade Jaikaran. We've done a lot in the past, but we intend to do much more. We now have a budget that is 5 times more than what APNU had in 2016, for example, more than 5 times more. And so we're confident that we would be able to do this. Now, I love this. This is one of my favorites because it will directly target the poorer class of people. Those persons working, for example, for $100,000, they are going to get $35,000 more per month on their salary. And if we give it at the end of the year as retroactively, as governments normally do, then you will be carrying home close to or in excess of $500,000 in terms of your back pay and your salary at end of the year. So you can plan for it, and you can have a wonderful Christmas at the end of the year in 2026 if we choose to go that way. In any case, if we give it monthly, you're still having we're still carrying you to that livable wage level. We're also, in addition to that, we couple that with increasing the non-taxable threshold. So we're going to carry the non-taxable threshold to $400,000. It therefore means that every person earning $400,000, less than $400,000 rather, they are not going to pay any income tax. So again, you can go and calculate it. Whatever you have on your pay slip as income tax, that will go straight into your pocket. So the only thing that you will be paying is that NIS, which guarantees coverage for you. So with that single program, that single policy position, we are going to put a better income in the pockets um, of tens of thousands of persons that are employed with the government, and equally tens of thousands of persons that are not employed with the government. Because as I explained earlier, those public servants will naturally go out to buy whatever is it that they have to purchase. They would have a greater spending power, and therefore, for example, the woman selling the little mangoes and the bora and so at the market, she is now going to see her sale level increase, and so she too will benefit from that 35% increase, because um, she will have greater profit margins if she sells, or she has a greater level of customers. And so the economy will be boosted by it all across the country, and it will have that kind of spin-off effect, putting more money in people's pocket that are in the private sector. Another thing that happens when you increase public service, the pay of public servants, the private sector, who are making tons of cash. Sometimes people might want to describe some sections of the private sector as being a little greedy. But I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't describe them as that. But they will now have uh, to look at their salary levels and to increase according to how the economy is growing, according to how the salary scales are shifting. And so that is another effect that will another spin-off effect that you will have from that 35% increase. So I want to my teachers, my nurses, I want you to listen to me carefully and not be carried away by a president and a government that who doesn't have your best interest at heart, but comes around at elections time to make all sorts of promises. I see, if I can say, Comrade Jai Karan, I saw just recently they are now pressuring, this PVP government is now pressuring the doctors. I saw an article, a letter actually, which was sent to the medical professionals instructing that they now have to work 10 extra shifts per month at these new hospitals that they're building. Now you're already not paying these people a proper salary, a proper income per month, but you're now extending their scope of work. You're now extending their time. And when you read that correspondence, it doesn't matter whether it's a holiday, whether it's Sunday, whether it's Saturday, they're being paid at a pretty much flat rate. These are our doctors, These are our hard working doctors, and they're now stretching them so far. We saw how they stretched out those teachers. I think we had the longest strike by the teachers in the history of this country for about 80 days or 80 something days, where they refused to give them anything significant. The teachers had to carry them to court, and eventually they buckled to a 10%. But picture this, we were able to pay 10% in 2016 when we had a budget of just 232 billion. These people now have 1 trillion, 1.3 trillion dollars at their disposal, and they're tossing this money at family, friends, and favorite, but they're ignoring and neglecting the working conditions of our teachers and our public servants. They're neglecting the need to increase, to give proper salary increases to these hardworking professionals. And so we will ensure as the next government that we do it. But we also have some other programs that will also increase the that will give a livable, I don't know if I could call it a livable wage, but we will make available resources to those senior citizens, because it is not a wage, but it will still fall into that category of ensuring that persons have the kind of income that can support them, their daily lives. And so we are making another commitment, and I love this one. You have about 70,000 pensioners across the country, and we intend to increase their pension from the $43,000 that they're getting currently to $100,000. I believe every pensioner in this country will be happy with that. So when you go to the poll, you must consider what the APNU is offering. And we have a track record of increasing pension, looking out for our pensioners. We, Dennis, you would recall the state of those post offices and those areas where the pensioners had to go to collect their meager pension, $11,000 or something like that. They had some years that they didn't increase the pension too. But right away we came in and we started to move it upwards, and we took care of those facilities. We made sheds. In some cases, our pensioners had some breakfast and they had some coffee and that sort of
Yeah.
thing. We took care of our pensioners. We know how to take care of our senior citizens. We value their contribution to the economy. Never mind, they're now at a particular age where they can really contribute in that significant way. So that is a program that I like as well. There is this one that I particularly like. It is the cash grant, the cash grant for school age children. Now, the PPP loves to talk about, oh, APNU took away cash grant. Look, they had they had an elections gimmick just before the elections, and we'll see a lot of other gimmicks as we move closer to these elections. They had an election gimmick. They came with a cash grant, and I'm told that they had a paper in. Remember, they prorogued that parliament, and so you had a time before elections, and they had a paper in. I can't remember if it's a white paper or what color paper. The colors signify different things at the cabinet level. They had a paper though, which the minister was saying that look, we can't sustain this cash grant operation. It is unsustainable. Cabinet has to look at it. So our administration took over that very issue. Now, Norton was not there, Holder was not there, Jarita Fernandez was not there. Most of us that are the current key persons in the opposition were not in the cabinet at that time or played any significant role. So we cannot say A nor B pertaining to that. What I can say is that Aubrey Norton, under his leadership, is making a commitment to the parents and students that once we get government, we are going to move that cash grant from the $53,000 to $120,000 per year. That equates to like $10,000 per child per month. So if you have 5 children, as some persons, especially in the interior, do, they are going to get what is that, $600,000. That is the kind of benefit that we want to bring to the people of this country. That is our core policy. For those students who are, or those pupils or learners, as you might call them, Ario, you're an educator, former educator, and former Ario. Those pupils that are 5 years and younger, we have an additional $2,500 per month. What we call it, meals. Uh, I can't remember the name of it, but it is a voucher meal, a meal, or an allowance. Anyhow, it's $2,500 added per month, and that will take the overall sum to $150,000 per child. Those children who are 5 years and under. This, to my mind, is an excellent program. An excellent program that will take care of the needs of our children. They will ensure that our children can attend school. It will ensure that they attend classes on a full stomach, and they have a little pocket piece that they can buy a snack or two, depending on how long they have to go to school, one for morning and one for afternoon. That is the kind of life the APNU coalition wants to bring, or wants to give, to every single Guyanese, regardless to your race, regardless to whichever political party you supported. Whichever political party, of course, we want to encourage you to vote on these policies. Do not look at who is jumping up around the place and who might have a little star power, or who is dancing Michael Jackson. That is not that those wouldn't be persons that, or qualities, rather, let me put it this way, those are not qualities that you would want to see in a president. A president has to be focused, has to be somebody that is rooted on the ground, that has key policy positions that will change the lives, transform the lives of the people. And that is what we see in Aubrey Norton. And these are policies that he would have endorsed. Of course, we did it as a collective, with him leading the ship, captaining the ship. And so we have lots and lots of great policies. And look, and all of this forms part of this livable income, All of this form part of this livable income. Let me
Yeah.
tell you another thing that we intend to do. Light bill, light and water bill, we intend to pick up the bill for persons, and this policy specifically targets the low income bracket people. People who are earning $10,000 and less. The government, APNU coalition government, is going to pay that bill for you. So you will receive a bill saying you don't owe anything. You don't owe anything from 10,000 if you're earning $10,000 or less. And most homes, or all homes, at a particular level, will have a light bill. An average bill might be about $7,000, $8,000, within $10,000. I'm talking about the poorer class of people. This policy is specific to the poorer class of people, because I don't think it would be fair for us to go and pay the bills of PPP millionaire friends, persons with big mansions, have 3 and 4 ACs running, and that is not the role that we should take up. But we're targeting people who have less. We want to give them more. We want them to have more disposable income in their pockets. And we're not talking, Irfan Ali likes to talk, and Jagdeo likes to talk about disposable income. Oh, they're ensuring $10 billion. Look, those monies that they're talking about is to cover certain programs. It is not specific to an individual. I am talking about $10,000. We're going to pay your light bill for you. Your water bill, $5,000, unless we are going to pay that for you. So again, you have $15,000 more income in your pocket. You don't have to take that out. We gave you a 35% increase already, right? We gave the public servant in the house a 35% increase. We gave granny. We moved granny from our, or in some cases you have grandfather and grandmother, but let's just say granny is in the house alive and well. We move her cash grant, if I can call it, or pension from 43,000 to $100,000. You have two kids in the home, one at 5 years, one at 10 years old. The 10-year-old gets $120,000 per annum. The 5-year-old gets $150,000 per annum. Look, the core thing about this policy that we have is to ensure that we offer every household about $1 million or more per annum. That is what all these programs are geared at. That is what all these programs are geared at. And if you consider that those examples that I gave to you, granny alone will earn what? She earns $100,000. She gets $100,000 from the pension. Let's work the difference. She has in excess of $50,000 extra from what she's getting now per month. And what? That's 12,560. Granny alone puts $600,000 in that home. Right? You see where I'm going with this? The public servant in the house gets $35,000 more per month. That is what? That is close to $400,000 more if it isn't there as yet. 12 3 is 36, 360, 12 5 60. I think it's over about $420,000 or so. You would already gain over $1 million more in that home per annum just by those two persons. We haven't considered the kids as yet. We haven't considered that because you have another $120,000 coming from every child that you have in the home. We pick up that light bill per month, $10,000. That is another $120,000 per annum. We pick up $5,000 from your water bill. That's $60,000 more. You see where I'm going with this, Ario? Some
Yes.
families will benefit, I think, as much as $2 million more than what they are benefiting now from this government. That is what we intend to do for the people. Now, if you have a young child maybe that would have finished school, we're looking to train. And when I say we, the APNU coalition, we have another policy here that says, look, we are going to train at least 50,000 young people. 50,000 young people. And we are going to give to them $50,000 stipend per month to train you, to make you into something, to give you the kind of skill that the employable skill that when you finish that training, you can go out there and make your own money. You don't have to depend on our $50,000. Again, that will add up. That is another $600,000 coming into the home. I'm saying $2 million, but in some cases, some homes might get about $5 million, $3 million in terms of cash and other benefits, right? I saw the president talk about, they had this big celebration about gold. And I want to congratulate every Guyanese who would have studied and earned a degree. And so I have no problem with that. But that gold program needs refocusing, rethinking. A lot of the programs being offered, I don't know. I've never seen an employer ask you make a request or a job advertisement Say if you have gold, something with gold. I've never seen that. I don't know if you have ever seen it. You know, and what we will end up with in this country, we will end up with a lots of persons, thousands. In the case of gold, we see they said what 39,000. They said what they said uh, promise fulfilled, promise fulfilled. You know, promise kept. Now, I don't doubt that there are some there that got genuine degrees. If you're going to do a master's, for example, I have a master's. You more than likely have to read for that. So I don't have a problem with the online system in that regard. But I believe there needs to be a balance with some practical training. It can't only be theoretical. It cannot only be theoretical. We will have lots of people in this country that would have the paperwork to their name, but they have no genuine understanding of the area of study. I can foresee that is where this government is taking us. We are going to change that. We are going to change that. So we are going to bring 50,000 training programs. Well, not training programs, but we will train 50,000, at least 50,000 young people, and give them 50,000 per month, at least 50,000. Who knows? It might go up above that. Look, and we're still talking about this livable wage. This livable wage. Lots of people, especially in Region 4 and all across the country, are renting. And some of them are single mothers struggling. As I said before, the rent has to eat before you put food on that table. They're struggling to make ends meet. We know how rent in Georgetown is, and even in the countryside, it's about $40,000 minimum you have to pay for a simple 2-bedroom flat, and so it is quite expensive. This is a project that came directly from Aubrey Norton, a rent to own project that we intend to implement, where suitable qualified persons, of course, there must be some criteria in terms of how you select. You can't rent for everybody. You can't have that program for everybody. But we think that is a better program where instead of you pay down on this house flat, you're renting now and you want to own your own home. You pay down on this house flat under the PPP. You have to pay all your money. You have to find it within a week. They come at you, find $600,000, find $1 million. You have to find it. You successfully found it, and now you have to wait 5 years. Either they didn't show you the house lot, or even if they show you, now you got to raise again. You got to raise income with your meager salary to try to get enough to even take a loan to start building. And so what we want to do, this policy will target qualified persons who, once it's approved, you're going to get your own home. We're going to build thousands of homes across this country. And once you qualify, you get that home, turnkey style, you move in, and then you start to pay it as rent. So you don't have that headache and that stress. Even that $35,000 that you were paying for someone else's home to live in for the time, temporarily, you won't mind. You are not going to mind paying it, right? Because you're now living in your own home. This is an investment, and everybody will value it. So that is an excellent program, I think, that can work for a lot of people. I see somebody in the comment said the VAT at 14% can be reduced to 9%. I totally agree. And we are looking at policies like that. You would recall, Ari, and I'm just beaming at the comment section so that I can respond to that person. We removed the PPP brought VAT. They like to talk about what APNU brought and what APNU didn't bring. The PPP brought VAT to this country, a strain on the poor people. We made a commitment to reduce it, and we reduced it to 14%. As we gain more, as the economy grows, as we gain more money from oil, we certainly we certainly will look at reducing all forms of taxes. All forms of taxes. They're going out there to say to people, oh, APNU introduce 200 taxes. Well, we asked them in Parliament to name those taxes, and they've never, ever, not one day, the Minister of Finance or any one of them stood up in Parliament to name any of the taxes. They can't name 10 tax. Not 10 they can't even name. And so these are some of the good policies that we intend to implement. Of course, cash grants. We are going to grant small business grants. For example, we are going to do a lot of that. And APNU, over the years, under Aubrey Norton's leadership, has been calling for the distribution of sizable grants that can really push a business. You know, these people under the PPP over the last 5 years, they had this policy of only granting friends, family, and favorites, and they come and they give you, and they give you again, and every grant that sharing, they come and give the comrade, and while the other people are suffering. We think that we can reform that program and we can give significant grants to people who need it the most. I'm talking about people on the ground hustling to do some innovative business. The man that pushing a cart out in the streets. The woman that is selling the greens at the market. She might have a good idea, but she doesn't have the fund to do it. You can come to us and we help you. Not only with your own idea, but we help you to shape it up properly. And then we will monitor and manage it, monitor your progress so that we can even suggest that kind of business to other people in other areas across the country. That is how we intend to do it. We will we will ensure that every Guyanese benefit from the oil. We intend to put oil money in the pockets of 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 of, of every single Guyanese, and we will give more to who are in need of more. We will give more to who are in need of more. We will focus more money into communities, into areas, into vulnerable groups that are at the bottom, because the idea is to bring all Guyanese up to the same level, up to a particular level. And the rich folks don't like this, you know. Rich people like to know that they are on top. But that is not what we're concerned about. We are concerned about elevating those at the bottom. And so Guyanese can expect from the next APNU coalition government, or any government that we are a part of under the leadership of Aubrey Norton, we are going to give huge cash grants, um, more than likely multiple cash grants yearly. We believe that even outside of the earnings from oil, we will have something what you call a good governance dividend that deals with that deals that deals with how we govern the country, and we intend to cut a lot of the corruption, cut a lot of the wastage that we're seeing now. And so we anticipate that we're going to get monies that will be available from that. Once you cut corruption, I think one study said 40 cents from every dollar. This 40% is going towards corruption. And if we can cut that, if we can cut that even by half, we are going to have significant funds to bring about a better life for every Guyanese. So this is my commitment to the people and the commitment of the APNU coalition. We are going to work hard to ensure that each and every one of you experience a better life through better income, better salary, better wages, better programs to improve your lives.
Thank you very much, MP. And that is why on these programs, we are pointing out to the viewers where the real value is. And so there should be no mistake as we approach 1st of September 2025, because we are getting it over to our viewers. But before I ask you the next question or point you to an area for you to give us your views, last night on the program Advancing the Cause, the program was able to bring to the attention of the viewers, as this program is now doing tonight, that today is the 12th day of June, 2 days away from Enmore Martyrs Day. And that 8% increase in salaries for 2025 as promised to our teachers, our public servants, members of our discipline services, they have still not received that 8% in salaries. And last night, the program asked them to recognize the level of discrimination and what consideration they must be as we arrive at 1st of September 2025. I thought it fit, MP, that this program should get that over again, so that people would become very conscious of these situations. Let me ask, or let me point to this here. Coming out of these policies and these programs and areas of focus that you would have made mention of just now, a number of important and major, more so significant projects would present themselves. And so I asked a question for you to point us in the direction as to how, again, in the very many ways and in the very many forms, that these projects would again have that income level as we are discussing on the program here.
You mean our
guidelines,
our projects that we intend to?
Yes, our projects. How it would put more money, how it would bring more employment, how it would cause more satisfaction, how communities would be developed, how persons are going to interact, how there's going to be that interlinkage between communities as it relates to roads and waterways. If you can point in that direction.
Yeah, thanks. Certainly I will. In considering our policies, we look at the community level. And so what you want to do is to build sustainable communities. You want to look at the local economy and how your policy as a government will impact the lives of people at that community level. And so when we consider infrastructure, public infrastructure, when we consider healthcare, when we consider all the other areas of focus, we first look at the impact on the community level, because you want sustainable communities. And then you look at the wider region. You look at the wider region, and again, you look at how the region can sustain itself. What are the needs of the various regions? And so, in fact, I should mention this. I believe I'm told that when these regions were demarcated, the 10 administrative region, it was that thinking that the PNC had That is how we emerge with these 10 administrative regions. We mark them in such a way, uh, carved out those geographic boundaries in a way that each region should be able to have its own economic activities, its own infrastructure, and everything that goes with it, and be self sustaining. So it is really like 10 states, individual states, if I can call it that, that come together to make Guyana. Unfortunately, we see in a lot of regions, certain things are not being produced, certain things are not being done, and so we had to sit down and look at this thing holistically from those very angles before we could have crafted our policy. Now you ask the question how certain projects will contribute towards a livable wage and a better way of life for Guyanese. For example, our infrastructure policy. We intend to have massive infrastructural works across this country. And I should mention proper, done in a proper way, not the kind of infrastructure that we're seeing now, not that kind of vision or lack of vision. Our vision entails um, major inter-tongue roads where we link tongues, and major interregional infrastructure in terms of bridges and roads. And so we intend to link all the regions of Guyana. It's an ambitious target, a target that we intend to work feverishly towards in the next 5 years. We certainly will require a lot of funding to do it, but we will look at the very important ones we will have to prioritize and to begin our implementation. Uh, I could name one of them for you, for example, and I love this one, linking Linden to New Amsterdam. Now that will be a flagship, a flagship one. Could you imagine the time it takes for persons to, for example, take goods from Linden to New Amsterdam? You will take maybe about 6 hours to get there, and therefore your profit if you're doing that kind of trade. And I'm trying to link the infrastructure now with how you would make money or how it would improve your life. So even in terms of the time of travel, we can look at it from that perspective. The time of travel, the time you will take from Linden to New Amsterdam, you are going to take probably an hour or less, because it is either 55 miles or 55 km. I can't remember which is the unit. I'll certainly check it. But it is that short, is that close. We've already mapped that out, and that will be a phenomenal project. And in terms of, course, look, it will create employment. Other than we're talking about cutting down the time in terms of goods and services, which will obviously benefit traders, benefit persons in terms of whatever business they're doing. But in terms of the project itself, you will have hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs being created. There, you'll open up new lands for agriculture, for example. So again, putting more money in people's pockets. You will have more housing areas there, so we can build those turnkey homes and offer our rent to own policy. We'll implement that policy as we open up more lands, and again, it leads to more money into people's pocket. We've said also we are going to, and I'm getting down into the infrastructure here. We are going to bridge the Essequibo at multiple points. We intend to uh, pave that road from Parika and get down all the way to Bartica. And Bartica will be a central point, because from Bartica you can get to Madia, you can get to Linden, and we will have to establish a bridge across the Essequibo, so that, sorry, we can link region 2 to that point again. So look, again, this means more money in people's pockets. Again, the system to transport your goods and services is very poor. Currently, even the boat system is very, very poor. I heard the government talk about a new ferry for Region 2. Nothing is wrong with that, but we look at that policy. We've already said too that we are going to bring faster ferries, larger ferries, to transport goods and services, and that will obviously benefit the region significantly. But we will also, in the long term, bridge or connect region 2 to Bartica to region 3. And so if you're in Georgetown, there is not a hassle that you got to catch this boat, and if you miss the boat, you gotta wait another day or 2 days at the stelling. Time is money. Time is money. You would have seen the truck drivers complain when Ejil was in the region and they could not have traveled, and the big fuss on Facebook that caused him to go and apologize. We are going to build out that infrastructure that can link the regions, and so you won't have that kind of problem, and you will have increased economic growth. Persons will now see get will be motivated to invest more into their crops and their livestock, because you now have an easy way to transport it to the various markets. And so that is what our road infrastructure will look like. We have a what you call a riverine infrastructure policy, a riverine policy, where we intend to establish roads on riverbanks all across this country. We'll do it. We'll do it down the Berbice River. We've met with the folks there. They've bought into the idea. We show them how it can benefit. I'm certain that we will do it right here in Region 2 along the Pomeroon River, and that will be a significant development for the people. One, if not the most significant development ever, to improve the lives of those persons living in the Pomeroon area and other riverine areas. We are going to connect their communities with the coastline, with the major towns. And so, obviously, the production will increase and their income will increase. Look, part of our plan, and this is not infrastructure, this is agriculture. The leader, Aubrey Norton, has spoken about it many times over. We need to have a proper agriculture plan for every region. We need to have a national agriculture plan, and then we need to have a regional agriculture plan. I believe we have to start at the regional level and then get to the national level, and then put it together. You have certain regions, you gotta ship certain stuff from the highway till to Mabaruma. Mabaruma imports a lot of various crops that they themselves can cultivate there. So we've got to look at it carefully. When we talk about food security, when we talk about reducing the cost of living, that is the key. We have to have a national agriculture plan that takes care of that. We've not seen that, unfortunately, from this government. What we have seen is a haphazard, a couple of black belly sheep here. Mind you, we're not hearing anything about that now. Those black belly sheep, they I don't know if they still exist. You have they did something with the brackish freshwater shrimp, and when I, as the chairman of the Economic Services Committee at Parliament, we asked for the committee to go to examine these projects, they bluntly refused. The speaker has never responded in terms of giving permission and providing the finance so that we can go and see these projects, because those projects are failing. They're afraid that we will be able to see it for what it is and tell the public. So that is what they did over 5 years. They put down a few fish nets or fish tanks, whatever you want to call it, and that is it. That is basically it. Look, the first time in this country we have seen rice farmers, the rice industry that which would have been the backbone of this country, carry the economy for many years. Rice and sugar, rice farmers. This is the first time I have seen rice farmers have to dump their paddy. And then after we met with those rice farmers in Region 2, Irfan Ali comes back we put out some things that we will do immediately for our rice farmers in terms of storage, in terms of markets, etc. He came back with the same idea. Said they're going to build some silos soon. I was shocked. I was shocked to see Irfan Ali parrot something that we just said. The leader Aubrey Norton just said to farmers. He comes out and he says the very same thing. These guys have no vision. They have no interest in our rice farmers. These people would have suffered significant losses, and all they offer now, we're within 3 months of elections, they offer promises to these rice farmers. Sugar is the same thing. Sugar is going nowhere. For 5 years they blame the opposition. This year I saw them say, it's the weather. So apparently rain didn't fall for 5 years from 2015 to 2020. We produced 92,000 tons of sugar with 3 estates open. They took it over the very next year, 2020, 2021, 2022. No year did they come close to it. In fact, they're making about half that amount. With 4 or 5 estates, they reopened sugar estates and they're making less. Could you believe it? And they've pumped more money, over $50 billion into sugar, and they're making less. What can they say to us? What can they say to the sugar workers? They would have failed them. They failed the sugar workers and they failed the rice farmers. And a lot of these people are their supporters. I am saying to you, if you're looking at this program, or if you have friends that are sugar workers or rice farmers, say to them, don't worry with the PPP. They're just a bunch of scamps trying to con you at election time. That is what they are.
So, MP, I think we are out of time. So,
Yeah,
as
I
host, I think
recognize.
you should be given the opportunity for your closing remarks.
Yeah. Look. Thanks. I want to thank the thousands of people who would have tuned into this program. I'm sorry that we're so much out of time, but we have a long list of policy positions. We have a long list of programs, very, very attractive programs that will ensure that every Guyanese earn a livable income, that every Guyanese can live a comfortable life that we all dreamed about for decades in this country. We now have that opportunity, but we have a government that spent 5 years fully focused only on their friends, their families, and their favorites. And now they're coming to you to tell you that they delivered for you when you know that is not true. And therefore, they're telling you that give us another chance for another 5 years, and then we will do these things for you. I think you have to make sensible decision. No longer can we focus on the party that we traditionally supported. Oh, it's Cherry Jagan. We love Cherry. Look, Cherry was a good man. Was a good man in many regards, but this is not Cherry Jagan's party anymore. Cherry Jagan's children said so, not Shurwayne Older. Cherry Jagan's children said it. It's not the party that Cherry founded. And Forbes, by the way, Forbes Borna was there also at that time. It's not the same party. These people that are in government are only focused on friends, family, and favorites. You saw what they did for 5 years. You experience the hardship. Please don't let us have another 5 years of the same. A change must come to Guyana. That change can come if you support the APNU coalition. Whatever form we take, whoever we partner with, the main thing is that you focus on our policies. We have some great policies for every single Guyanese at every age, gender, religion. We have great policies. And so I want to urge you to support us, to look at our policies, listen to our programs. And if you can relate to it, if you think that it is a good policy, then give us that vote And we're making a commitment. I am making that commitment to you that at the end of 5 years, we are going to deliver a better life and a safer country for all Guyanese.
Thank you very much, Honorable Shurwayne Holder, Member of Parliament and Shadow Minister of Natural Resources and Chairman of the People's National Congress Reform. Viewers, we want to thank you very much for tuning in. Do look forward next week for this program. Same time, same day, Thursday, 18:30 hours to 20 hours. Good night, and may God bless you. Thank you
Good
very
night.
much.